This last summer, Becky Gillen told me a story, reminded me of a story that encapsulates Jay so well in my mind. I was thinking we had this football game that we used to play at my last church called the Pinewood Bowl. It's kind of a unique game. We would have the women, anyone not a teenager, would play against the teenagers. And then the men would play against the teenage boys. And it was always fun. There was usually a trip to the emergency room after that. And it was usually one of the old guys that would go. But the girls, I remember going out, and we had some flags, and I said, hey, you guys want to play with the flags? And the girls were like, no way, it's tackle, all the way. And guess who the quarterback was? Jay Drake, the one with the terminal lung disease. She was a vicious competitor. And she went out playing football, charging through the line, hitting girls in the face with the Heisman pose, and she runs over the sidelines, rips off her pump for the diabetes, and throws it to somebody and says, this is slowing me down. That's who Jay was. And I see that fierce competitiveness in her daughters. If you watch them play volleyball, you know that they have that same fire. I see her playfulness when Colson laughs, the way that he does that. And I see that spark every time I see Gracie that Jay had in her eye. But when I would look at Jay, I would see Jesus. That's who she reminded me of. And I thought of this passage because of this one verse in verse 21 that says, for me to live is Christ and to die is gain. To live is Christ and to die is gain. And Jay knew that, and she lived it. She exemplified this whole aspect to say that for her to live was Christ. She knew what that meant. Paul was in prison when he wrote this passage, and he didn't know if he was going to go and be killed or whether he would keep on living. And that's when he made this statement. And he knew his purpose. Was he to go on living in the body, investing in people, investing in the kingdom, or would he die and go? And he said, if I die and go be with Jesus, that is better by far. Now, how can we say this? How can the Christian with such confidence say that to die is gain? It says in 1 Thessalonians, we do not want you to be uninformed, brothers, about those who fall asleep. And fall asleep means to die. That you may not grieve as others do who have no hope. Christians can do that. We believe and we don't grieve as others do because we do have hope. We can't forget that Paul was who wrote Philippians. He had seen Jesus. He said to go be with Jesus is better by far. He met Jesus on the road to Damascus. Jesus called him by name. Jesus taught him. He knew. He had revelations that we cannot even dream of. He even met a man. It says in 2 Corinthians, he met a man who was caught up to the third heaven. And he said that that man heard things that cannot be told, which a man may not utter. Such amazing things that Jay is experiencing right now. In 1 Corinthians, Paul also said that in heaven we will experience what no eye has seen, no ear has heard, nor the heart of man imagined what God has prepared for those who love him. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now we know in part, but then we shall know fully, even as we have been fully known. That's why we gather and we have a celebration of life. Because we know and we believe that what we're going to experience in heaven and in the new earth is going to be so amazing. We know that Jay is running and breathing deeply and doesn't experience any pain. So, if Jay's experiencing that, why are we so confident that that's where she is? If we believe as a Christian that this is what God offers, that this is what the Bible teaches, how do we know that Jay is there? And it's because those two are linked so closely, right? To die is gain. If to die is gain, to live is Christ. And Jay exemplified that so well, as you've already heard everyone speak about. How did she suffer with that disease and not grow bitter? I can agree with Kyle. I never heard Jay complain in 15 years, not one time. I complained this morning about things. Okay? I can't even make it through a morning without complaining. And Jay never complained about anything. She was so content with the little things. Why does she wear old sweatshirts with holes in them from junior high? Because why would you go buy a new sweatshirt? I have one. She didn't care about the trappings of jewelry or clothing and things like that. She didn't even seem the least bit bothered or upset about those things, ever. Instead of feeling sorry for herself or becoming self-centered, she always seemed so selfless. How did she do that? How? Whenever you entered the room, Jay had that uncanny ability through her questions to make you feel like you were the most important person on the planet. She did that because that was Christ living through her